Greetings, everyone. Anthony Russell here, banners on the wall. And we're doing a bit of a link up this year. I'm joining forces with the Solent Devils. And what we're trying to do is just give you guys out there in the wider hockey world a bit more of an insight into the club and some of its players. They tell you that the devil is in the detail. Well, it's time to put some detail into the Devils. And with which case, we join my guest this evening. So we're going to start off relatively formally. Your name, please, sir?
Harry Cloutman.
Jersey number?
Number 18.
And when did you start playing for the Solent Devils?
5 seasons ago.
Good evening, Harry. The first time you've
Good
ever
evening.
done an interview, you said to me just before we started. How nervous are you?
Oh, a little bit. Nerves get to me all the time, but I guess we'll see.
We'll address the elephant in the room right off the bat, which is your ginger. No. We will talk about the fact that your surname does carry a chunk of weight within British hockey because, of course, your dad, Dave, is probably, if not the finest, certainly the best known referee of the last little while. How frustrating is it to have a referee for a dad when you step off the ice and you've done something stupid?
Well, when juniors was a thing, it was a bit more annoying because he'd be more critical of a performance. But since coming to adults, just kind of get left alone. Just get an occasional message of like, "Well, you weren't very good tonight, were you?" Or I get a, "Oh, nice goal, good job, nice goal," something like that. But I don't really get much critique.
The other bigger question then is, because she is so heavily involved with the club, what does Mum say?
Oh, just Mum doesn't really do after the game stuff. She's like, hope it all went well. But before the game, I'll walk out the front door. I'll be in my suit walking out, and she'll always say, "Oh, you got to play big, play strong." Like I'm a number 12 going to my first game still.
Now, it's obviously not a massive surprise, given your family lineage, how you ended up playing the sport. But given how involved your family has been, that would put some people away. What made you get involved?
You'd actually be surprised. When I was 8 or 9, I was playing football at school, obviously, because everyone does when they're that age. But I got an opportunity to go play for an academy that's most of the people in my age group did. And Mum asked me if I was going to do it. And I said, only until you let me play hockey. Because at that point, she didn't actually want me to play. So the next week, month or so, we just went and got the kit. And then I started playing at like the swift age of 9.
What do you remember about right back at the beginning? Like, did it come naturally to you? Was it hard?
So I think I joined in January. So only like 3 months left of my first year. But it was really weird adjusting to skating with leg pads on. It felt really weird having leg pads on. So I ended up having the smallest ones possible, and I could actually skate properly again. But it was really weird.
I suppose it's something people don't actually kind of take into account because, of course, you learn to skate and you're suddenly thrown with all of this extra stuff that you have to kind of take into account. I assume it kind of sort of throws off your center of gravity and your balance a bit.
It did throw me off a little bit. I skated with really bent knees for the first 2 months. It was really awkward, but it sorted itself out. So
we'll all be critiquing that again against the Oxford City Stars this weekend. There is a very brief period where you played over in the Isle of Wight.
So the year that I played at the Isle of Wight, there wasn't enough players to have an under-15s team in Gosport. So the 6 or 5 of us that were there that year, we got borrowed by the Isle of Wight for that season, which was a little bit weird. It was the season that the rink closed down as well. So I started off playing and then I didn't.
Yeah. For people who don't remember, right, because of course, you know, we'll have newer Devils fans and newer fans from around the country having a watch of this. Ryde was a unique place, just like Gosport is quite a unique place. They're both very, very small pads, some differences and some eccentricities of the rink. But what do you remember of the Isle of Wight? 'Cause you were quite young. You're playing like under 15s at the time.
Yeah, Isle of Wight was pretty much the same size as Gosport, except I remember the goals being very small. They were just really small goals.
Custom
So there
made,
was more space.
is my understanding.
It was just so small. You'd look at the back of the net and there just wouldn't be anything there. So there was more space on the ice. But I remember going over and watching loads with Dad, obviously.
Yeah.
So I remember sitting in the Isle of Wight stands with their fans, and it was just great. It was a great little atmosphere the whole time we were there.
Yeah. A few people, of course, have migrated over now since the sad closure of Rye. In terms of that, playing in that Isle of Wight side, are there many guys still floating around from that time that you sort of see? Obviously, as you said, a couple from your age group were borrowed, come back, but are there many guys still sort of floating around that you see?
So people that I know that came from the Isle of Wight. So Dan Shire, who played for the Devils for a while, he's now playing on the Division 2 team in Solent. He's playing still, along with a man named Mike Hendy. He played with me when I went over for my year in Isle of Wight, and he plays still with us now. But other than that, there's not many that I know of playing league. There might be a few playing rec still, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Oh, fair enough. So you come back over the water, enforced, as it were. Because obviously, like, you've had not enough players, and suddenly you've gone into under 18s after that. Is my understanding. So you had enough for a team at that point. Was it good to be home?
Oh, just normal again. Back to the normal stuff. No boat trips to go to training. No team coaches. That were team coaches on the other way. I haven't done that since, but it was back to normal.
No wandering down the pier.
Oh, love the pier. You gotta love the pier. Going
Everybody
for a
loves
nice
the
stroll. 15-minute stroll down the pier with your bag on your back. So much fun.
In the wind and the rain in December. Have you always been a defenceman?
So yeah. Since the start, I've played defence. But my last year of 18s, I did play centre because we had enough defenders, and I guess my coaches thought I'd be best served playing forward that year. So yeah, my last year of 18s, which was cut short for COVID, I did play centre.
But people who may not quite understand, because obviously, even watching hockey for your first time, you will notice the very marked difference between playing up front and playing at the back. For someone who's played a lot of defence, try and explain to people that kind of adjustment, just how hard it is to go from doing that one job to doing a very different job.
Oh, it was just, even at under 18s, it's just frustrating because, I mean, as centre, you do play defence, but like, I'm just so used to going up, standing on a blue line, and then skating backwards back. Instead of skating up forwards, skating back forwards, skating up again, skating back again. Oh, it's so tiring playing forwards. I'm just so more at home playing defence than I am playing forward.
Did they make you take face-offs?
Oh yeah, I took face-offs.
Are we not seeing you take face-offs in NHL 1 South this year?
No, I've done some face-offs, but they're not really my strong suit.
As junior starts creeping towards its end, how long was the conversation with yourself about stepping up and playing senior hockey? Because you and I will, you're quite a young man, you're only sort of 21, 22, and we can probably think of a few people who've been very, very good juniors, hit the end of their under 18s and just decided, you know what, that's me done. I'm not playing anymore. Or they've gone to play rec because they don't want the commitment of league hockey. Whereas you stepped straight into doing quite a lot of stuff. I mean, what was that conversation like with yourself in terms of like, actually, I want to push on, I want to play league hockey?
So at 16, obviously because that's when I started playing adults, I believe I turned 16 in the off season, and Alex Murray messaged me straight away and was like, come to the next summer skate. And I did the trials at the end of that year. During my first season as a 16-year-old at 18s, I just played 18s, and in November I got signed for the Devils. But I was always going to play some league hockey, whatever level I could, NHL 2, NHL 1. But that was the plan. Just I was like, I'm going to play some league hockey. I'm going to get going here.
Do you remember your debut as a senior?
It was against Lee Valley. We won 14-3, I want to say. It was also two of my other teammates' debuts as well that day.
Who else was there with you then for that first one? Do you remember?
So Tom Basil had his debut. He's played some NHL2 since then. And Kieran Taverner, he came from the Isle of Wight, and he did his debut that day. But since then, he's had an injury and he's stopped playing. But
was that home or away, that one?
Oh, it was at home. It was at home.
Yeah, that's the best way to start. I think sometimes, although interesting, of course, because for people not familiar with Gospel being such a small rink, the Devil's Cauldron, as the club likes to call it, it can be quite a claustrophobic atmosphere to start out in as a 16-year-old, your first game of senior hockey. I mean, I assume there's nerves because you've got, everybody's quite close. Everything's quite sort of on top of you, but it's a space, do you kind of remember much about how you felt?
Oh, just pure nerves. Just nerves from toes all the way up to head. Just nerves the whole time. Just nothing but nerves.
I can imagine at the end, though. Or was it relief by the end?
Oh, after the first period, it was just pure excitement. There was nerves are gone. Just excitement fills the body. You're just like, wow, this is great.
I was going to say, at least you probably weren't refereed by your dad in that one either, so that might have made it a little bit easier. You've obviously gone up and down a bit between Devils 1 and Devils 2. And you've now sort of hit that point where you're actually involved in coaching Devils 2 this year, is my understanding. You're quite a young guy.
Yeah.
How does that kind of come about?
So I've had my level 1 coaching license since I was 16, 17. So I've been in the juniors the whole time. But obviously the NHL2 team has been out for 3 seasons. And we've had coaches for this is the 4th year it's been a thing. But for the first 3, we did have an actual level 2 coach. But last year, in January, when I was given my temporary level 2 license, whatever they called it for last year, I then got given the keys to the castle, so to say, for the remainder of that year. I took over the coaching role. I don't know how it came about, but just being around the D1 team for a long time, it just gives you enough experience to know what you're meant to be telling people to do. And just so this season I've become the head coach of the team, and it's going well so far. So,
how easy is coaching? And that sounds like a really loaded question, especially because we know that that Muzzer will be listening to this. But for some people, much kind of in the same way kind of skating or hockey is, some people kind of naturally have an aptitude for it. Some people have to work really, really hard, but can kind of grow into it. And some people, and I can think of some coaches I had at rugby when I was a young man, just naturally want to do it and aren't very good. I mean, how easy do you find this to do?
Oh, it's so hard, especially being a player coach. So like you're trying to concentrate on your own game, but then you've got to remember that you're meant to be the person that's telling people what they're needing to do to be better during the game. So like you just completely lose track of some things you're doing. Last year, I'd say it was much easier because I got injured and I couldn't play. So I was stood on the bench, and I found it so much easier to just stand on the bench and coach than to play along with coaching. It's a struggle. But if you have good people on the bench to help you whilst you're there, it does make it much easier.
Who have you got on the bench with Devils 2 this year to help you out?
So at the moment, I've got my auntie, Lynn Cloutman, when she is available. And I've also got Dale Herridge, who did some time in the Isle of Wight and Solent. So whenever I've got anyone available, it will be someone with some wealth, some experience to help me out from their point of view of what's going wrong. What's going wrong on the ice.
It's obviously been a bit of a mixed start, but some relatively good results. we're speaking on the 20th of October, and you guys had a pretty solid win over Basingstoke this past weekend. I assume in kind of games like that, it feels like it kind of runs itself when it's going well. I mean, it was obviously quite a tough game from my understanding.
Yeah, so it started off pretty close. I mean, obviously towards the end we pulled it away just to give ourselves a little comfort. But whilst it was close, it's really hard to concentrate on what's going on, and like it just becomes so manic. But I think the team actually really did well to just relax, just calmly get us through the game. And then when we had our 3-goal lead towards the end, you just put people out there, tell them all to calm, relax, and then they get the job done. And it was actually quite nice to see the boys playing the way they did at the end.
There must be a real sense of, like you said, there's a real sense of satisfaction when you can kind of see all the things you've worked on during the week come out in real time.
Oh yeah. So like when you're doing team stuff, and then in the game they're doing exactly what you did on Tuesday in the game, it's satisfying, as you said.
Of course, the other strange thing is you'll be playing with people and coaching people who are a bit older than you. How do some of those conversations go down? Because being a coach is a very different thing than being a player, and being both at the same time is very, very hard. But you've got to try and convince people. Obviously, you'll have 16s and 18s coming up from the juniors. Schoolyard mentality like that. I'm the big boy here. You little lot do what I say. But you've got a few folk who are a bit older than you. How those conversations sometimes in life can be quite difficult. Is it a hard thing for you?
I'd say that we have the right people in the team. They don't, like, just because they're older than me, they have the respect they would for any other coach, I feel like. And they just respect me for who I am. And it makes it much easier when people that are older than me just will listen, because they also want to win. No one wants to lose. So they'll just listen, take it on. They won't be like, I'm older than you, don't tell me what to do. They just take it on board and get going.
And of course, we wish the Devils too the best for the rest of the season. But let's look back towards the first team. Last year, and the couple of years before that, the Devils, unfortunately for them, have very much been the bridesmaid rather than the bride. And it's kind of been this long-running saga of punching up towards the juggernaut that is Streatham. But the other thing that we're seeing is that ever so slightly, everybody's creeping closer and closer to them. We're probably going to have a few people here who don't watch a lot of South One. For me, I said it has the potential to be the most competitive division across the entire NIHL this year. What's it like to play in South One right now?
It's like, compared to other seasons, it's completely different. Everyone's beating everyone, whether it's Upper Milton Keynes beating Romford, and then they're beating Oxford, but Oxford are then beating Streatham. It's just everyone's beating everyone, and I feel like everyone's just trying to prove that they should be the team up the top now. And like, everyone's built such strong teams coming into this year. It's just looking pretty equal at the moment, and we'll just wait until later in the year to see what's going where.
It's very much a case of kind of how the chips will fall, given how close everything is. Devils have had a bit of a mixed start so far. There's obviously been a chunk of turnover from last year. Jamie Fitzpatrick has stepped away. Chico Cole has stepped away. And, guys who are very talismanic, very visible, people that you would really associate with the club. There's been necessarily a shift and a few changes. What's the big difference last year to this?
I think we just need to start get going as a team. Obviously, we've got a few new guys in the changing room, and obviously it takes a while for people to blend in. But it's just, there's new lines, new ways that people work together. And you just need to give it a few more weeks for people to get some camaraderie between us. And then once we get going, I think we'll be fine for the remainder of the year.
Just to kind of put into context, and I'm interested to ask this question, Chico is without a shadow of a doubt one of the best netminders ever at this level.
Yeah.
And his numbers kind of bear that out. What's Chico the person like? Give us some insight into what he's like what he's like around the room and the like. Because we've seen the interviews on Zero Pucks given and places like that, but I'm interested to hear what other people think of him.
Oh, he's great. Like, he's just, to me personally, he's just a wonderful guy. I bump into him every now and then whilst he's at work and whilst I'm at work, and he's always interested, like, how things are going. Like, he's just such a good guy. Like, he's not got a real wrong bone in his body towards anyone, really.
And then, of course, there's the unfortunate souls who've kind of been given the task of replacing such an instrumental player in the Devils' success over the last couple of years. But Aaron Taylor, Mark Duffy, and Rory Martin-Edwards, who sort of got this triumvirate that's kind of being sort of rotated around. Big shoes to step into, but quite a unique approach to kind of countering that. It feels a little bit like Muzzer's kind of picked sort of the best parts and he's letting guys have an opportunity. As a defenseman, is there an advantage then knowing that you've got a different kind of cast back there? Can it be hard to kind of adjust because you might have to play differently to different keepers? How does that work for you?
So the boys are all pretty similar in terms of like how they are in net. They all like a good communication, so you always hear them talking whilst you go in. There's not much difference between the boys. I don't really ever change how I play for each one of them. I find it quite easy to adjust whoever's in the goal. Just hopefully I don't make mistakes that leave them on a 2-on-1 or a 1-on-0.
You say that, but for somebody who's not been the largest of goal scorers or point scorers in his career, you have 4 points in the first 5 games of the season. Where's that come from?
Oh, I don't know. Just someone sprinkled some fairy dust out of the bag at the start of the season. I must have caught some. I don't really know where I've got any points from, but it just keeps going.
I mean, to put that into context, you currently have more points than Drew Campbell, more points than Ryan Sutton, more points than Joe Llewellyn. Is this the transformation of you into the Gosport Lidstrom?
Oh, I would love to be part of the Gosport Lidstrom, but you know, some people start a year fast. Usually, I don't start a year until game week 15 or something like that. But it's just nice to get my contributions going for the team this year.
When you think of how last year ended, coming close on pretty much every facet, did that influence how you've approached coming into this year? Because, like you say, that's quite a fast start. You know, to be nearly a point per game as a defenseman is pretty impressive. I don't think either of us could deny that. Was there any particular thing that made you change? Because, of course, how last year ended, I mean, that'd be a pretty big motivator for a lot of people.
Yeah, so my season was weird from February onward. I didn't play because I was injured in the game in Slough. But like, it was really hard knowing that I could have added something to the team for the games that I wasn't there. So I thought over the off season that if I'm going to be back, then I've got to be going back and doing my bit for the team for those games I missed. I'm making up for things that I missed out on, trying to do my bit for everyone.
When you think of where we are now, so we're a couple of games into the year, and South One, of course, is a league where it's not like the national division. Some games you'll have 2 weekends, some weekends you'll have one. You might even get the rarest of all things, which is a weekend off, and we'll say that quietly. But when you think of where we are now, where, from a personal perspective, do you want to be in a month, Christmas, end of the year? Because I know what you're going to say. I know what a lot of players say in this sort of situation. I just want the team to do well. I want us to get results and so on and so forth. But as an individual, there must be marker points in your head of, I want to do that. I want to do that. Do you have any? If so, what are they?
By Christmas, like, with the team that we have, by Christmas, you'd expect us to be battling for one of those top spots. And for me, it's not. I can say, I just want the team to do well, but I want the team to be battling for that top spot, as we have for the last 2, 3, 4 years. That's where we should be. As from a personal standpoint, I don't have any personal goals for myself, but I just want to be up there battling with those top 2 teams week in, week out.
We obviously talked about some of the new guys coming in. Joe Llewellyn has been a very sizable addition in a quite literal sense. He is a big boy. But as a D unit, and I apologise to Chris right now, I'm not going to attempt to pronounce your surname. But as a D unit, I confess, when I was doing previews at the beginning of the season, I genuinely said, I don't know how to read Solent at all as a team, because there's been such change, and the change at the back with the netminders. And I said, I have no idea what the Devils are going to be like. And I quite like that, because I like a little bit of chaos in my life. And sometimes it's nice to go in not knowing. How would you describe this decor to people outside the club?
Weird and wonderful would be the way to describe it. Weird and wonderful.
I'll cue up the song from the Marmosets just now.
Obviously, we've got our 2 very big players of Joe Llewellyn and Chris Nekrasavicius.
Oh, thank you. I love hearing a proper pronunciation of someone's name. Now I know for later. Thank you.
He spent about 4 weeks trying to tell us how to say it. So they're noticeably big. And then we have Alex Cole and Dan Lackey and Mason Wild. They're kind of, when it comes to it, they're just everywhere all at the time. They're so well, like, fitness levels wise. They're just everywhere, always working hard, doing this, that, and the other, trying to get to the puck first. And the Callum Preller-Fox has been amazing since he stepped back to D. Like, pretty much a brick wall when it comes to it. And he doesn't mind the nitty-gritty stuff in the corners. He'll chase after the puck. He'll get the puck in deep and go straight after it, as long as someone's there to cover him. But it's a weird and wonderful decor, because there's a bit of mix match of everything instead of just having the standard.
So what's your skill set then? How do you fit into that?
I'm just there. No,
standing on the blue line, just waving his stick up, and nobody comes within 10 feet.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't put myself in the fit group of people, because I'm not. I'm obviously not in the tall person group, so I just consider myself a D-man, a nice D-man that does his job. Hopefully.
I find it fascinating that on Elite Prospects you have no listed height, no listed weight, and it doesn't even talk about what hand you shoot with, which is fantastic. It's just you are literally a man from Gosport.
Yeah, just a man from Gosport. That's all I am.
It's not quite the man from Uncle for those of our older listeners on things. Just looking at the other teams around the league, like you said, it feels very, very close this year. And Streatham are obviously the team a lot of people are punching for. Slough have obviously made a good start, or at least that top line have made a very good start. Where are the the teams? Who are the teams, the big players at the moment that you look at and you think, right, they're trouble. I need to really be on my game when that person's skating towards me at the moment.
So from the teams we've played so far, it's usually the obvious lot. So Chelmsford, they usually got some players from here to the wazoo. They've got loads, but it's always the Bartletts. They're just dangerous the whole time they're on the ice. Like, they'll shoot from anywhere. They can score from anywhere. They're dangerous. Oxford have some very skilled players they've brought in this year. Their import, that's a forward, is pretty strong on the puck, as he's shown in some games. Hullaby, yeah. Matt Lawday always seems to score against us every year. Slough, their top line, speaks for itself. And Invicta, last check, is pretty potent when it comes to scoring. Owen Dell's up there in terms of skill. But every team has like 5 or 6 guys that you just have to watch out for, because you don't know when they can go off and just score a goal.
As someone who has said that you are in the not fit group, how much harder is it playing away from Gosport? Given the fact that small pad is what it is your greatest advantage. How much harder then is it to go and play somewhere that's like time and a half the width and like double the distance at times?
You'd actually be surprised. A lot of us do prefer playing on the big ice. And I do include myself in that group. I prefer having a bit more space to work with on the ice. It's a luxury when you go to an away game. Until you get Milton Keynes, that's too big. But no, most of the rinks in our league they're the right size. They're great. I think I don't mind going on any bigger ice. Like, it doesn't change much for me when I go into a bigger pad.
What's your favourite rink to play in away from home?
Away from home, I'm gonna have to go with Chelmsford. Chelmsford's a really good atmosphere. I mean, I hate the Blue Lines. Everyone hates the Blue Lines, but they've always got fans booming on the glass. It's always a good atmosphere to play there. And it's always a tough game. So it's always good to go to Chelmsford.
I was going to say, yes, Milton Keynes, entirely too big, all things considered. I'll ask some of the sort of general questions just about the team and your teammates, because I think our listeners will be interested. Who's the locker room DJ?
Callum Perella-Fox.
And what sort of music are we getting?
So before the game, it's just it might have a bit of country. It might have just your normal pop or some old disco stuff, but it's the same songs that get put on for the last, when you come back in from off ice. There's no DJ. It's the same playlist that it's been for the last 6 years. It's just a bit of rock, and it will it's the same playlist. It's not changed.
Who's the person who in training doesn't tries to do as little as possible, and then will do absolute wonder on the ice?
Maybe Ryan Sutton, but he just seems like he's always so relaxed when he plays, whether it's in training or whether it's on the ice. He's just always just looking so relaxed. It's very frustrating, to be honest, as well. But other than Sutton, I'll have to go with Muzz as well. Muzz.
Who's the person with the most ridiculous bit of personal equipment, whether it's stick, whether it's skates? Who's the one person with something that everyone's making fun of?
I don't know. We don't really make fun of any equipment. I think, Jack Peacock has his newest piece of equipment he has is a thing to help cut tape off of the blade when he needs to tape your stick again.
Isn't that a pair of scissors?
No.
Maybe I'm an old man. I don't get that.
It's called a Tiger something or other. It's just a blade, and I've seen them loads, but I've never actually had someone in the team have one. But other than that, no one has really any weird equipment.
Who's the locker room joker?
Yeah, Alex Cole. Alex Cole is the locker room joker.
And I'll ask the question, and I will ask the question of him himself when I eventually get around to interviewing him at some stage this year. Muzzer as a player has been, he's very much Mr. Solent. What's Alex Murray like as a coach?
I mean, you know what he expects of you, and like, say, yeah, you're in training, it's not going well, like, he'll let you know about it, and then after a while, we'll be skating. But when it comes down to it, he teaches what he wants you to do in a game every week. Every week is just whatever you need to do to be doing better in a game. That's what we're doing. But he's pretty, I'd say, a standard coach that I've had during my career. Because my last few seasons of 18s, I had Richard Facey coaching me, and he's been around Muzz for a long time. So I've had the same things for the last 6-7 years. But it's a good thing to come from him, because it's now the way that I coach as well.
I was about to ask, actually, because that's the sort of thing that follows on, is that how has Muzz as a coach influenced you as a coach?
A lot. So the drills are nearly the same all the time, but they must be working for the Division 2 team. And when you think about it, say a 16-year-old comes when he's another 18 and trains up. If he gets with me, where I do the drills that Muzz does, but simpler, so that it's basic understanding of what you need to do to win a hockey game. When he gets to the point, if he's good enough to play for NHL 1, then when Muzz has him, it will just be normal stuff to him. Just it will change a little bit to get a bit more complicated. But I coach pretty much the same way he does, just not as good.
For the last question then, because the plan is that this is coming out either late morning, early afternoon of Saturday, the 21st of October. The Oxford City Stars are in town. What kind of game can people expect that they're coming along to the Gosport Arena this Saturday evening?
I think it will be maybe more of the same as it was in Oxford. I think it will be a tough game, a physical game. But when it comes down to it, I think that we should, in our own rink, find a way to put it past them. So
just for 3 goals from you then? 4? What are we putting ourselves down for? Or are you just hoping that you don't trip over your own blue line?
I'll be on the ice for one of our goals. That's what I'll say.
Just a really, really straightforward.
Whether I'll be on the game sheet for it or not is not up to me.
No Tony handing of assists. Either way, folks, like I said, it's Saturday the 21st of October. You can catch Harry and the rest of the Solent Devils this Saturday evening at Planet Ice Gosport. 5 p.m. face-off against the Oxford City Stars in Division South 1. Tickets are available through the Devils website, which is solentdevils.co.uk. Harry, thank you for taking time out of your Friday night to chat to me.
Thank you.
And for the rest of you guys, like I say, stay tuned across the chunks of the season. We'll be chatting to more folk as we put some detail in the Devils. For Harry and myself, this is Anthony Russell saying stay safe, and so long till next time.